Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Bear Gets Canceled Before He Even Built a Career. Alrighty, so we're getting into some dicey waters again, boys. And girls, and thems and names and all that stuff. Colloquialism, boys. Anyway, um, we're gonna get into some gender stuff. Now, I'm gonna be looking at it from a spiritual angle. We're going to be talking about the divine masculine. And in there, there's going to be some stuff about gender, and I know I'm going to say the wrong thing and get canceled before I start, but we're going to go for it. The divine masculine. I see stuff all the time, and it drives me nuts. People talk about the divine masculine and what the divine masculine is supposed to be. And from everything I can gather, what they're talking about is men. That's not what masculine. That's not the same thing. There's men, and those are like a physical thing that exists in the 3D space, and then there's the divine masculine, which is really kind of just a way to say masculine, but it's like the super spiritual version of it. So masculine energy and feminine energy. Penis, a masculine energy, does not make. My wife is a very feminine woman. I mean, she like throws hay bales and she'll punch somebody, but she is a feminine woman, right? We have a son. If somebody tries to hurt my son, my wife will shoot them. Masculine. As I have said many times before, I am not a teacher. Some of this is my opinion. Some of this is what I picked up along the way. So, masculine, projective. Feminine, receptive. Similar to the way that genitalia works, which is probably where the correlation came from, right? You have the male end and you have the female end, like an electrical socket. One projects out, one receives, okay? So we're going to start by talking about like yin and yang, because it's something that everybody knows. You see the yin and the yang. The yin is the black section and the yang is the white section. Black absorbs. Black pulls in all the colors. That's why when you wear a black shirt outside, when it's sunny, it gets really, really hot. White reflects, right? It pushes things out. Black is feminine, white is masculine. So you have the black color, which pulls everything in, and the white color, which pushes everything out, okay? I know that most people know this, but when I hear divine masculine and divine feminine used, they use it in males and females, but it's not. It's like an essence. It's an energy. It's just not the same. We also, because of the way that the spiritual scene has kind of been constructed, we have a lot of different cultures that are mixing all at once. So we have the Western ideal and the Eastern ideal, and they've kind of been mashed up, and it gets real murky. One of the other things that's kind of been thrown into all this is like the collective unconscious idea. Carl Jung basically talked about how we have a bunch of different archetypes, and the whole collective of our culture has these different archetypes within it. We use them in tarot. You know, you have the magician, you have the knight, you have the king, you have each one of them. As soon as we see the card, it has a role, and we understand what that individual's role would be in a story, and that's how we use it, and that's how we get our metaphors that then give us the reading. So we can stack that on top of this divine masculine idea, because we have a lot of like knight in shining armor ideas that go with it. That's partially the projective. A knight would go and get the Holy Grail. He goes out to get it. He goes out to fight the bad guy, while Princess whoever would gather all the children in with her. And it's a lot more literal when you're looking at the collective unconscious, but really what those characters are doing is playing out the masculine and feminine roles that are in there. Does that make sense? You can't respond to me. I don't even know why I asked you. but maybe tell me down there. Tell me if it makes sense. Now for why this stuff drives me nuts. I saw something the other day, and it was talking about divine masculine. What you need to do is sheath your sword and get in touch with your emotions. Basically saying, don't fight, go and cry. I'm a man, I cry all the time. Modest Yahoo, the one day, cry every time it comes on. That is not my masculine energy. That is more my feminine energy. Not females cry more, men cry less. That is the feminine part of me. To tell the masculine to sheath his sword is like, just, that's what it is. That's it. That's its purpose. When it goes down, the masculine is there with his sword. That's his purpose. Men have done toxic things throughout history. And when people think of the divine masculine and they equate it with men and they think of violence, every violent act that we see now is a bad one. If you see someone getting in a bar fight, it's bad. If you see somebody beating their wife, it's terrible. Beating their kids. When you see acts of aggression in the modern times, 99.99999% of the time, it's terrible. It was unnecessary. It was a fight of pride. It was a fight of jealousy. It's not good. But we need to remember that in instances where there's like a shooter, there's an active shooter, and then you have another person there, male or female, that has a gun that can take out the shooter and defend all of those people in there. That's the divine, pure masculine energy working to save people. That's its role. So when we equate these two things, we end up with this toxic idea that you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do this, because we've been programmed in a way that that is violence and violence is bad. Fact is, it is not always bad. If someone is breaking in my house, I want to use violence, use my divine masculine energy to take that person out. By saying this kind of stuff all the time, the people who are saying sheath your sword and do all that, we have done such a disservice to a whole section of the human experience. You're literally asking them to close down their divine masculine and bring up the divine feminine. All these terrible, toxic people that like the guys that are mad because women won't sleep with them and it's all the women's fault and it's all those other guys and it's them and it's them and it's them, but they don't have a job, they smell bad, and all they do is sit in their house and play video games. That's an effect of this pushing down of the masculine. When you push that masculine down and those men, that part of them was never nurtured. When you push something down like that, really, it's like a dam, right? When you push something down like that, it's got to come out somewhere. It has to show itself. Everything is trying to go to equilibrium at all times. So if you are pushing something down over here, it still exists. It's just going to rise up over here. But if we can nurture it properly, if we can nurture that violence that we think of as so terrible, if we can nurture it properly so that it's used in the correct manner, then it's not going to come up over here as an active shooter. It's going to come up right where it's supposed to be, and when something bad happens, that person will then be able to act accordingly. We can't keep doing that. We can't keep saying this is good and this is bad. They are. Masculine are. Feminine are in males and females. And by constantly doing this, we are creating a bizarre, toxic environment. I know when these things are said about the divine masculine, they are mostly said in good faith. They are said by people who have been hurt by poor masculine energies. They are said by people that have watched others get hurt. They're said in good faith. But instead of trying to abolish this, instead of trying to get rid of this energy, if we could all work harder to nurture in ourselves both halves of us, speaking to men and women, because both have them, if we can figure out how to nurture both of these halves, instead of having a leak way over there where everything goes terrible, we can get it where it's supposed to be. Because one cannot work without the other. The way we use these terms are important. Because the way we use these terms is the way that it is passed on. And as we are passing on this information, it is detrimental to throw things out of balance. The yin and the yang. Everything must find harmony. Nature always tries to find equilibrium. So please, as you see these things, and as you try and help, think about it. Think about, instead of how can we abolish this, think more of how can we nurture it properly. As I am raising a child, these things are front and center for me. And it just, all the dumb shit that I was taught throughout my life, I just don't want it to be passed on to my child. Yeah, that's all I got to say about it. I hope this wasn't too bad. I think it was pretty good. Yeah, not toot my own horn, but it was pretty good. On that note, please remember, I sell all kinds of mystical magical goodies, and I would super appreciate it if you'd buy some. That stuff funds my family, which funds my spiritual work, which funds my videos, which funds all of it. So you can get me on Instagram, Facebook, and coming soon, Social Phoenix. Social Phoenix. That's coming soon, so check me out. I am wherever books are sold. Love you guys. Say your mantra, take your vitamins, stay grateful.